an hour of just this month's insanity. There's shit from Pete Hegseth talking about how basically all that matters is America's military might, and we kill as many brown people as possible. Like he says some insane shit. Palestinians are getting ready to be massacred. Like it's going to be a modern genocide. Like worse, arguably worse than what happened with the Uyghurs. And what happened with the Uyghurs was awful. Thank you, Zuck. That was really nice of you. You're so generous. Love what you did to the place. You fucking shill. Oh yeah, RFK Jr. got confirmed today. The brainworm guy is going to be in charge of vaccine rules. And like every conspiracy theorist that has this setup gets validated. So this is going to be great times. So I'm going to post, we're streaming. Again, for anyone that cares. Live for an hour or something. Join in if you can. Oh, you know what? I gotta pull the chat out too. Yeah, I gotta pull the chat out. You know, I don't get any chat, so it's fine. If I start seeing stuff, I'll respond in the app. Let's get started with Elon's popularity.
More breaking news this morning. Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota says that she's not going to be seeking re-election. So that means that one of Minnesota's 2 Senate seats will be available. And I don't think it's a coincidence that yesterday, Dean Phillips, who was a congressman from Minnesota, decided to go on CNN and say this. Bradley, if we could pull this up. He ran for president. People may remember he was a part of that odd robocall scheme in New Hampshire that used AI Biden's voice, right, to tell people not to go out to the polls because it had to be a write-in campaign because Jamie Harrison and Biden moved South Carolina against the wishes and against the law in the state law in New Hampshire to make South Carolina the first primary. Iowa's the first caucus, but South Carolina first. He was a bit of an odd duck, but he got some brownie points for being one of the only Democrats to call out Biden's failing cognition and his age. However,
obligatory reminder that Joe Biden never should have ran for re-election. And we're in this position because of him. We're in this position for a lot of reasons, but Joe knows what he did.
No, Castro's the real hero on that front.
Yes, calling it out to his face back in the 2020 primary. This guy's an opportunist, and it seems abundantly clear based on these comments that he makes about Elon Musk on CNN yesterday.
And that was a proposition of mine. Unfortunately, Democrats are only focused on one thing right now, Mr. Musk. The fact of the matter, he's quite popular. He has the largest platform in human history, which is, of course, Twitter/X. And
one man shouldn't have been allowed to buy a massive, like, communications infrastructure piece. That's why you should not be allowed to have lifetimes worth of wealth. Like, hundreds of, there's a lot of different trains of thought, but ultimately, like, one person should not have control, again, of hundreds, and in Elon's case, hundreds of thousands of lifetimes of American wealth. As of right now, he has approximately 200,000 American lifetimes of wealth. It's not it's not possible to earn that. He has it. He didn't earn it. He just had. God damn it. Watch the video for a second. I got a hair in my mask. Fuck me.
I think we're missing the boat as Democrats. And all I'm saying is that sometimes it's better to join them and actually play a role in how the strategy works rather than so pathetically, frankly, try to combat something that clearly is a steamroller, and Democrats are being steamrolled. And I'm deeply concerned about that. Yes, Musk is not elected. He has no accountability other than Donald Trump, and that's a frightening combination. And I don't want to cross my fingers. I think Democrats should join the club and then have more credibility to actually raise the alarm about constitutional issues. Right now, it's the boy who cried wolf.
Well, wait. So let me get this straight. The Democrats need to join the club to have credibility about...
Yeah, that's insane. No, the Republicans have no credibility. They are just lying to the American people right now. Caroline Leavitt, like, pretty much everything she's saying up there on the podium is a blatant lie. Like, it makes Sean Spicer's, like, this is the biggest crowd size anyone's ever seen in history, period. Like, it makes that look like bullshit. It makes Kellyanne Conway with alternative facts look. It makes her look like a Sunday school teacher. Caroline Leavitt, every word out of her fucking mouth is a lie right now. It's objectively a lie. You can independently verify it. I'm a random online for the fistful of people that stumble on this video. You don't have to believe or trust a fucking thing I say. Frankly, I would be annoyed if you took me, like, at face value. I cover my fucking face. But, like, don't trust the White House. Like, not right now. There's Nazis in the White House. Alleged alcoholic rapist Nazis as well. That are saying, like, let's just bomb everyone and might makes right. Which it doesn't. It just kills people. But yeah, like, any asshole that tells you that the Dems need to saddle up with the Republicans to be credible, they're lying. They're crazy. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So, yeah, let's keep going. I'm going to keep getting sidetracked. This is some agonizing shit for me.
Combating it? So basically they're a steamroller, so we need to roll over, or lay on our back and let the steamroller roll over us, flatten us, and then maybe we'll be taken seriously. What phenomenal advice, because then he tacks on that he's concerned about it. But frankly, he's wrong about Musk's popularity. We're already seeing this play out in poll numbers. I know you guys...
Like, here's another thing. There weren't really, like, polls set up to poll him like they would, like, a traditional politician. Like, they're having to scramble to, like, get opinions on him out there. And it's like, I mean, he's always had, like, little popularity polls and everything, like, rough guesses. Now it's like, oh, they actually need to canvass to see what people think of this fucking guy. Because he's talking next to the president of the United States like he's got him on a fucking leash while his kid pokes him with a stick, basically. So yeah, it's like, we need to know what the broader political electorate thinks of him. I think a lot of people would not care tomorrow if Elon Musk had a massive coronary and wasn't an issue going forward. Not glorifying it. I'm just saying, like, if he didn't, like, wake up tomorrow from some horrible thing, like no one would care. A lot of people would be happy. Like, I'm just saying, like, objectively, things would go on as if nothing happened. Like, he's an unimportant man with all the money in the world that he didn't earn. He just has it. You cannot earn 200,000 American lifetimes of wealth in a decade. It's not physically possible. You're not producing or providing enough to humanity to earn that, to deserve that. Unless he makes the fucking replicators from Star Trek and solves scarcity, like, actually solves scarcity overnight. Like, it's not a real thing. He's taking a piss. All right, let's go back to Emma. She knows what she's doing.
Yesterday played that video of that farmer who's going to be affected by these freezes.
Oh, the farmer is Skyler.
This doesn't just happen on the internet. Stop bringing troll logic and legitimizing it when we're talking about government functioning. This is the tail wagging the dog. Elon Musk, here it is from YouGov.
She's been saying that a lot lately, but she's right.
More Americans view Elon Musk very or somewhat unfavorably, 52% than favorably, according to YouGov. This share, who they have a very unfavorable opinion of Musk, increased 7 percentage points in the past week. The share who say, I should say, they have a very unfavorable opinion of Musk, increased 7 percentage points in the past week to 43% from 36%. That's just very unfavorable. The shift was especially pronounced among independents and younger adults. And then this was also from Quinnipiac. Just last month, he already was unpopular, if you could just scroll down to the numbers. 53% of respondents said they are not in favor of Elon Musk playing a prominent role in the Trump administration. 39% said they are in favor. And that was, that poll came out January 29th. So Dean Phillips, who I would guess based on the timing of this media appearance is trying to run for Senate in Minnesota. By gosh, we got to keep him away from that because he's openly advocating for appeasing the fascists while saying, yeah, the fascists are doing something really bad. Way to read the room, because Musk's approval rating is not going to go up the more the actual pain is felt of what he's trying to do here. I mean, the Department of Education is a prime.
Yeah, they're getting rid of the Department of Education, which feeds kids. The Republicans have unveiled their tax plan, which is they're literally not saving any money. They're spending $5 trillion American tax dollars to put us in debt, to give billionaires tax breaks. They're going to be cutting SNAP, like allegedly only 20%. 20% is massive. You understand we did the inverse of that with the child tax credit was nowhere near like how much they're cutting. But the child tax credit cut child poverty by 30%. No, it was like 30 to 50%. Cutting SNAP by 20%, like children and mothers will die. Like they will starve and die. Like this will incite violence. And it's just the Republicans are just like, we got to get those tax breaks. We got to get that $5 trillion into the hands of the 1%. They're the only ones that know how to use it. And it's like, yeah, that's great. Give them another. Elon wants to be a trillionaire so goddamn bad. And I've been praying for the last month that while Tesla stock has gone down, I'm hoping the crash finally happens. Like, I want them to hit those piece of shit cars with the tariffs. Like, wreck them. Like, that'll crush the majority of his value. And it's like, it needs to go. He cannot be, like, he's not a good businessman. God, Joe Rogan the other day, like 2 days ago, was talking to some jackass conspiracy theorist dumbass. I hit the mic. Yeah, like, his guest was like, yeah, he didn't even want to buy Twitter. And it's like, yeah, he didn't. And Joe says, oh, he was holding out to get a better price. And it's like, Joe, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, this was like 2-3 years ago. Elon made an offer for Twitter easily double what it was worth. Easily. If not 4 times what it was worth. Made an offer for Twitter for that much. Because he thought, I'll pay $42.69 a share. Yeah, because the shares were running like $12 a share. And he's like, I'll pay $42.69 a share because I'm so cool. Thinking that like Dougherty and the rest of them wouldn't take him seriously. And then and then they were like, oh, you made an offer. Like, oh yeah, we're selling. Yeah, like we have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders to sell to someone that made that offer. And Elon tried to get out of it because it was a terrible, terrible business decision. Although I guess now, since it bought him the presidency, maybe not. It's a reckless business position and an amoral one considering what it got him. But it was a terrible business decision financially because he paid 4 times what Twitter was worth and then lost that amount of value, that extra value, by cratering the service. And again, that's why one man should not be allowed to buy a piece of communications infrastructure. And whether you agree or not, Twitter was a massive piece of public infrastructure. It just was. It may have been privately owned, but everyone had access to it. It had TOS guidelines that made sure everyone wasn't a Nazi, couldn't behave like a Nazi. You could talk to your senators, your congressmen. You could still technically do that. Technically is the big thing. By the way, I'll never call Twitter X. It's always going to be Twitter. I believe it's still Twitter on the legal documents, no matter what Elon does. X is a stupid fucking name, except if you're a Mega Man character. Otherwise, it's like, what are you fucking doing? Don't do this. So yeah, damn, the views are racking up on that. Where was I? So yeah, he bought a piece of telecom infrastructure, ruined it, turned it into a Nazi farm, and it's no one man should be able to do that. These are public services, public goods. They may be privately owned, but they were used primarily by the public and for the public's benefit. Just like electricity, internet, which, again, none of these things should be privately owned. They should not be. They should not be corporations. There's no benefit. They're not innovating. They're not innovating in real time to improve the service. There's no benefit of for-profit internet at this point. The infrastructure's in place. It's like, okay, you've succeeded. You all got your money, now fuck off. Instead, it's like, nah, we're going to raise prices. We're going to fuck you at every other turn because, we're a business and we got to make money. If we don't make money, the business fails. And it's like, no, you jackass. Like, the business just keeps rolling on. Like UPS, like the goddamn libraries. Like, when these businesses grow to a point that they become infrastructure, they become basically self-sustaining by the people that use them. And that's why we pay fucking taxes. That's where accountability comes from. Instead of healthcare, where it's like, well, I got to give myself a $10 million CEO raise. I got to take 5 American lifetimes every year because I'm the CEO. I worked that hard, Brian Thompson. Yeah, real fucking hard work you did implementing AI to get rid of people's fucking claims and deny them, you jackass, you fucking piece of shit. Thoughts and prayers, you prick. So yeah. Let's go back to the video. I'm going to lose my shit if I don't stop.
Example of that. You want to eliminate the Department of Education? That is not a popular idea. I'm sorry. People love our public schools.
This is about rich Democrats. Dean Phillips, my mic just went down. Dean Phillips's mother married the heir to a distilling company, Phillips. You might have heard of that. When they say Dean Phillips is a businessman, it's because that's where he went after college to make a lot of money, is the family business, which is a liquor company. There is a wide consensus among rich people right now that goes far beyond Elon Musk, who is a complete psycho, cartoon villain, but also our upstanding business partners like Mark Zuckerberg and all these folks that probably take meetings with Ro Khanna. They all don't mind this stuff. They don't mind the hatchet being taken to the parts of the administrative state that serve people. They're looking to streamline it for profit maximization purposes, and they're going to grind up people in the meantime.
The voices like Dean Phillips need to be extricated from the party altogether. Hakeem Jeffries is an extension of this, going to appease these Silicon Valley techno-fascists and say, like, hey, can we get a few of the good ones on our side? That's exactly what's enabled this hellscape that we're...
There's no such thing as a good billionaire. A while back, Warren Buffett was talking about a mutual friend that him and some of the other billionaires have. It was this one guy that used to be a billionaire. He got, like, I don't know his fucking name. I swear to God, you can find him. You can Google him. But he made like $2 billion, and he was like, yeah, I don't want or need all this money. I'm going to get rid of all of it. And, like, offloaded it off onto, like, charities, personal friends and everything. He basically wound down his wealth to, like, $2 million. The average American lifetime earning. And he was already elderly. He's retiring. He's like, yeah, I got this. I'm good. I can pay for if I need like a heart transplant or something. He can cover that. He's set. Like that's like the one, and I'm blanking on his name because he's such a rare oddity. Billionaires, they don't self-regulate. They don't get to a point of wealth and say, oh, this is enough. I need to stop. Look at Elon. $400 billion. And he's trying to become a trillionaire. Why? You don't need that money. Like, people need houses more than they need you to have that money. Society is less for you to have more. For no fuck. And he loves to brag about how, like, oh, I don't even own a home. And it's like, okay, so, like, you're not even doing anything real with it. You're just paying Chinese coders to play Path of Exile 2. Like, what are you fucking doing? I have a friend who plays RTS games. He's a terrible predictor of society and finances. But he's a very good RTS player. And it's all about resource allocation to be good at RTS games. The economy of the game. That to be the most proficient RTS player, you need to have your economy constantly working, building, producing. Instead of being stagnant, you don't have a surplus, a store of wealth set aside. while you're playing the game. It's all in motion. That is how a capitalist economy theoretically is meant to maintain function. And Elon is just resentful of how that works. Well, I mean, most billionaires are. They see it, again, capitalism as a means to enrich themselves, not as a sustaining entity, which, again, capitalism by its own nature, it creates these people. It's not sustaining. Sustainability is not the game. Profit is. But sustainability should be the game. We live on a planet of finite resources. Like, the sun is only going to go for so long. We can only pollute so much before all the animals fucking die and all the trees wither and forest fires destroy everything. But we can create sustainability. Like, Elon talks about, like, oh, I'm going to get us all on Mars. He's not going to get us all on Mars. Not in his lifetime. If he wants to map something out for, like, the generations of humanity over the next 1,000 fucking years to migrate there then and terraform then, yeah, like, it's science fiction, but it's also, I want to say reality fiction, but that doesn't sound right. It's plausible. Like, it's plausible over a long enough period of time. But it requires maximizing, becoming, I think it's like a class 1 civilization is one that's fully utilized all the resources of its planet. And then like a class 2 is like one that capitalizes on its solar system, and a class 3 is like a Dyson sphere around the sun, and you're just harnessing every ounce of energy it produces. Again, science fiction, but like that's the point. It's like, Elon, you're not building towards the future where even you get on Mars. Like, you're not going to get to Mars, man. Like, what are you're going to like build like a single rocket, fly over there with enough food for like a decade and then just fucking die? Like, watch The Martian. Like, yeah, like he grows a couple of potatoes and shit, but like there's no resources there. Like, that's why everyone's so interested in finding water on the moon and Mars, because they want to build like hydrogen fuel cells and use those. But it's like you're not building a magnetosphere. You're not building an atmosphere to live on. Like, we don't have the tech yet. We can, I believe the capacity for human beings to conquer the laws of science makes our potential potentially limitless. But we actually need to tap into that. And that requires like actual efficient allocation of resources, which Elon, I don't care if he's running DOGE, his very existence is an inefficient use of resources. 200,000 American lifetimes of wealth sucked into one man for no fucking reason. Like, it's just, again, he could give 200,000 Americans $2 million and they'll never have to work for the rest of their life. He could give 400,000 Americans half of their lifetime earnings, and it will change their worlds. He can give 800,000 a quarter, and it's same thing. Like $50,000, which would be, yeah, that'd be like tens of millions of Americans. He could give tens of millions of Americans $50,000 each. If I'm doing the math wrong, fuck off. I'm tired. It's definitely millions. He could give millions of Americans $50,000. That will change their lives. They could buy cars, down payments on homes, pay off debt. Like, he's holding the financial liberty of Americans hostage. And that's unacceptable. Like, that's what makes him a wannabe king. And it makes us have to serve him to like get our pennies to barely survive. And it's not acceptable. And that's why his polls suck. A la Emma, who will take it again from here.
We're experiencing right now, which people may recall, this tech industry in Silicon Valley was the darling of the Democratic Party for much of the origins of it. And they built them up. They enabled this kind of grotesque wealth concentration. And then what happens, as it does with every industry under capitalism that gets really big, they're going to go to the guys that are going to give them the real thing, which is the Republican Party. So
The
this
Nazis.
is where you have to draw a line in the sand, and there's a fork in the road here. You have Hakeem Jeffries going
God damn it, I hate that
to
phrase so
Silicon
fucking
Valley
much. A
to
fork in the road.
appease these folks,
Fuck
and
you,
you have
Elon.
Bernie Sanders, who is starting a tour across the country to speak to voters in districts that went from Biden to Trump in 2020 to 2024.
Bernie's a
Which
fucking hero.
road are we going to go down? Because I do see some people, Democrats, that you wouldn't even expect outside of leadership.
If you haven't,
seeing,
call Hakeem Jeffries'
okay,
office
we
and
have
tell him to
change
step
course.
down.
But right now, the
Fuck
leadership
him.
is dragging down this particular party at this moment. And Phillips is he's not in government anymore. But if he runs and is successful in Minnesota, this is like truly just a slow death of the party, frankly, if that is how we choose to proceed. But hopefully, like
Jeffries
Keith
and
Ellison runs or
Schumer
something
need to
like
step
that in
down.
Minnesota.
Fuck 'em.
Ilhan Omar, oh my God, I'd love it. But
There's an entire flock of media commentators, the sort of Iglesias types, that would want nothing more than for this to blow over and just maintain and come back into power as your enemies defeat themselves. Never mind the amount of damage they do that ultimately hurts your coalition. And we know this is what they want to do because it's what UK Labour did, and UK Labour sent advisors. They swap advisors back and forth, and I mean when they're not working for the Tories like Obama guys did. But the Democrats right now, there's a certain type of Democrat that thinks Trump is going to get so unpopular that we're just going to ride back in, and to a certain extent, it worked for a lot of them. It wasn't just the good Democrats like AOC and stuff that came in on the 2018 wave. A lot of losers came in too, and. You know, we need to be very clear about what kind of Democrats need to be supported or not supported.
I don't know why I didn't think of this, but Martig writes in, people are thinking walls. That is the kind of candidate that I think could have, we would want to support.
If
right?
Tim Walz
I wanna see
ran
who
in
else jumps into the race,
2028,
but in terms
he
of a
would
guy like
sweep.
Dean Phillips versus a guy
Like, the man's a
Walz,
fucking,
pretty easy to make that decision.
He's so wholesome and down to earth. It was to his detriment. Like when he was debating JD Vance and he was trying to be like decent to him, but like not like dem traditional dem decent. Like it's just like this is just a guy that like is a what do you call it? Like he clearly like got that small town like nice guy vibe where like even Kamala had her knives out during Trump. Like I'll give Kamala one thing. Like she ass fucked Trump during the debate. That was hilarious. Like, he looked like a fucking fool, which makes her loss all the more needless. But Tim would be a great, phenomenal presidential candidate. I would vote for him in a heartbeat. Most Americans would. And it's like, listen, like, we can have a woman in a black president someday. I'm all for it. I'm not against it at all. Like, I voted for Kamala. But it's like America's not ready now. They have a lot of prejudices built in, and they've been getting their shit pushed in for the last 50 years by the wealthy. Like, we need a reset. And by reset, I mean like another, like, we need a Green New Deal. Like, that needs to go through. And if it doesn't, like, then we're just fucked. I don't... All right, let's keep going with the video. Keep getting distracted.
And while we're just talking Minnesota, Omar Fateh over Jacob Fry, not even close, folks. Get activated for Fateh, who was central, among other things, leading the drivers' rights against the ride-sharing companies.
Oh, and now that we're on the topic of local politics, if you have not changed your party registration to Democrat, today is the deadline to do that if you want to vote for a particular candidate that perhaps
Zoran.
I'm ranking him first, but I'm already a registered Democrat. But you can't participate in the primary if you're not a registered Democrat, which I think some folks who might be inclined to vote for Zoran Mamdani or rank him first at the very least might be.
Can I name my top 5 candidates?
Yes.
Zoran, and Zoran.
Okay, but do you know who you're going to rank second?
If I ever get anyone
right.
watching,
I'm not worried about that right now.
Well, we'll figure it
anyone
out.
feel
but either way, I'm excited about that candidacy. As I say, it's a fork in the road.
Like, they should be gay kept like the way they are. Just to the parties. Like,
New York could go down that road
hot
right
take.
now. I mean,
Like,
he's getting some real momentum, but we have to be
I
making
always
these...
register independent.
we have to be
Let me
diligent
say
across
this.
the country.
I'd like to register
and a guy like Dean
independent
Phillips
and be able to pick a
can't see the
party
light
to
of
vote in the
day.
primaries
Let's
for.
not
I
have
don't
him
understand
be
why I can't do that.
a senator from
that.
Minnesota, which
If I want to be an independent
would just be an
Democrat,
outrage,
Yeah,
frankly.
just like putting Latimer and Wesley Bell. Did you see Wesley Bell's video?
No.
like
things
you
we've
should
been
be able to
doing.
identify as like a leftist or a right winger.
Gosh, they're really taking
and
what
be able
Cory
to
Booker
like
had
still
some.
vote
I guess
in
this
those
was with the
parties'
senators,
primaries.
but Cory Booker had a meeting about
I
how
mean,
they have
Bernie's
to be more
independent.
involved on social media, and it's like,
Yeah, take some crypto out, buddy.
yeah, can you please just talk to AOC instead of Cory Booker, folks? And just go to your friends in the house and ask some questions there.
Oh yeah. I gotta
Hey,
call
folks,
Cory
don't forget
Booker
to hit the
tomorrow and tell him to
subscribe
go fuck
button
himself.
and check out our daily show.
All right. Oh, I haven't uploaded my last stream. I'll do that at some point. This one too will go up. It will go up with the links for all the videos I'm watching. I might jump the political videos shortly. I want to see what that is later. All this bullshit. We'll probably watch this. I'll add this to the queue. Okay. Let's keep going.
This interview on CNN, Scott Jennings is their in-house, basically Trump supporter, and he wears the Israeli hostage pin
Christian
every
Zionist.
single day. He's a Christian Zionist.
Nazi.
It's so fucking weird to be a completely different religion and to to adopt the trappings of another religion as a means to effect a genocide. Like, it's so fucking like I'm a very lapsed Catholic, and it would be extremely odd for me. I guess we do see that too. Like, lapsed Baptist and Catholic like go over and enjoy like the Taliban and like do jihad and shit. Like, it's super fucking weird. I don't see how this is any different how Christian Zionists exist. They are so fucking weird. Like, stop supporting a genocide, you fucking psychos.
And he's getting more airtime because Trump is in office now. And it's important to point out that he's a Christian Zionist because that is a major part of the political force in this country that is supportive of Israel. Zionism is not an ideology that is inherently connected to religion. It is a settler, colonial, secular ideology that can cross religious beliefs. Biden is a Catholic Zionist. Almost the entire Republican Party are filled with Christian Zionists. There are also Jewish Zionists, that is absolutely true, but they get the outsized attention because Zionism tries to conflate Judaism with Zionism in order to protect themselves from criticism about things like committing genocide. I think our audience knows this, but if you're coming to this for the first time, that's the way for you to combat things like accusations of anti-Semitism when you criticize the settler colonial genocidal ideology of Zionism. Now, Jennings is on here on CNN debating this.
Scott Jennings!
The level of arrogance that he displays here is astounding. He's speaking to Rula Jebriel, and she's a Zateo contributor. She grew up in an orphanage in Jerusalem.
Listen, I just want to say, like, I have mad respect for African American women, and I sub to Simi, I think it's her name, and she's got some fire takes. Like, we've been telling you all this, and like now we got to deal with this shit because you wouldn't fucking listen. And it's like, we're not gonna absolve you of shit, and just like being held to account by articulate individuals that knew better when they told us better, and we just didn't fucking listen because we're jackasses. And a lot of respect for that.
She's an Israeli-born Palestinian and an award-winning journalist and activist on this front who has been doing this work for decades.
Great journalist.
So, Scott Jennings is going to tell her why she's wrong.
President Trump again today.
Scott Jennings is the piece of shit that said it wasn't a Nazi salute, and he got dared to do it on TV, and he wouldn't because he's a fucking pussy. It's like, stand by what you're saying, you dumb fuck.
Suggested that the United States would have ownership over Gaza, and he said it when he was sitting next to the King of Jordan. So how is that being interpreted?
I mean, I think the Arab League convened immediately a summit, and they immediately rejected en masse the whole idea. he cannot own Gaza because it's not his. Plus, Gaza and Palestinians' right to return and live in their own country is enshrined in international law.
It's like, imagine if a superior power took you out of the Americas.
To understand, the international law is not option.
How shitty to not even consider the other
Putin
people.
or for him. And the worst thing that he is now threatening to withhold aid from two major allies.
Although he did
Jordan
walk that
and Egypt.
back. I was just going to ask you. I mean, today he suggested, okay, maybe we won't do that. We
Because
won't
he
have to go that
understood
far.
it's not a charity. This is what he didn't understand before, and he understood it today when the King of Jordan explained to him this was about a peace and security deal that these two allies actually signed with the United States, and they were the first actually to normalize relationship with Israel. The first actually to stand up when the Iranians sent the missile in April. Who stood up to that and basically shut down the missile? It was Jordan because of that peace deal. If we decide that that peace deal is null and void, all hell can break truly loose, and then you will find yourself in a war with 400 million people in an entire region that today reject that proposition. Not only because it's illegal, but because simply this is the same argument and the same issue that triggered all of this conflict for the last 75
this
years.
is not the first time actually that this has been put on the table, and the first time it was pretty disastrous what occurred afterwards.
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, the reason we're here with this hostage situation this weekend is because Hamas decided to stop
He's a piece of shit.
participating in the deal that was brokered as Donald Trump was
That's
coming
not
into
accurate.
office.
Actually, the Israeli newspapers today says that Israel violated the ceasefire.
So
Get him.
I know what your position.
I know what you're going to do. Shut up, Scott.
The Israeli newspaper,
Dirty
the New York
fuck.
Times, and Israeli politicians.
Our ally is Israel.
Dumb
and
fucking
you can't
God.
have Hamas
Sick.
and
I hope I don't,
Allies
like,
violated the ceasefire.
I have the biggest nightmare of turning into a nut job conservative when I'm in my
Israel violated the
50s.
ceasefire,
Like,
killed
as a
100
white male, like,
Palestinians.
it's just like werewolfing into one of them.
We're
Like,
here
God,
because
they're
Hamas
fucking out of
kidnapped, raped,
touch.
and murdered.
Fuck.
And now they're violating this deal, which wasn't even a great deal to begin with. It did get a few people back, which I'm sure is the best of what we're going to see. And so what Donald Trump is trying to do is get this thing moving again, because these people.
He
need
brought
to
it to
come
a
back.
stop as
Number
it
two, I
should
think
have
he just
been.
wants the other states in the Middle East to do something.
They already
and to
offered
take
him to do
ownership of some
something.
people here, take responsibility for their own region, and I hope they do.
Take responsibility for your vassal state.
There's the only
This is
one
fucking
who actually
ridiculous.
put the proposition on the table 4 times, and this is where it's honestly you don't know what you're talking about, and I'm sorry to say,
No, I think
President
I do.
Trump
And
doesn't know
I'm
what he's
sorry
talking.
that you and I disagree, but I have a position, and it's valid.
There is an Arab Peace Initiative that is already on the table. The Arab Peace Initiative was put in 2002, 2007, 2017, and 2024. 57 Arab and Muslim countries together told the world at the United Nations this year, again for the 4th time, they're willing to guarantee Israel's security. They're willing to reconstruct and rebuild Gaza and pay for it. They're willing also basically to normalize all of them together with Israel on one condition: end the military occupation that's been lasting for 58 years.
All right, Rula, go ahead.
Just do it.
Yeah, it was so worth it to play that whole exchange. One, her thoughtful explanation at the beginning.
She's great. Yeah, no,
then
she's.
his just
she did perfect.
reflexive design. Did Hamas start this? I haven't heard that from Zionists over and over again. That repeated lie.
Israel provoked October 7th with their occupation.
Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt about it. The year that October 7th happened, 2023, Israel had broken a record for how many children of the Palestinian children that had killed.
They sniped
let alone
them. Like, they're taught to
the,
target these children.
fact that Palestinians have never been given don't have political rights. They voted for Hamas, 18 years ago, and then it was prevented from them having another election again, and Israel funded Hamas because they were useful opposition to them. In the West Bank, they are not allowed to be full citizens, even though over 3 million people there are under full Israeli control. And then there's the other thing where it used to be about how, the PLO walked away from the table. We have no choice to subjugate them. They didn't take the deal that we offered them, which allowed us to reinvade.
Sounds familiar.
And now Israel is slaughtering people in the West Bank, escalating it. They have committed violence against people in Gaza in violation of the ceasefire deal, and they are currently bombing Lebanon, attacking it in violation of their deal with Hezbollah. And what she describes there is the fact that, yes, the Arab states did come together and essentially say, in conjunction with multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions that back up exactly what they're saying, that they want to normalize with Israel as long as they end the military occupation. Over and over and over again, that has been said. And the right is having a hard time continuing to portray the other side as unreasonable because it's on our phones, but it still is about they're so savage, why won't they accept us? They're so irrational, why won't they accept us? And it relies on a dehumanization and a demonization of an entire group of people
like,
that, by the way, Donald Trump is
people
at the helm of when he essentially talks about ethnically cleansing nearly 2 million people from a land that is theirs and talking about moving them like you would move your desk in your living room or your couch in your living room from one side of the room to the other.
Do the right-wingers need to hold the children
You
like
know,
their
I
bodies?
want to comment, Scott Jennings.
I mean, they didn't care about Uvalde. I don't.
He's a dumb
they're not gonna
pig.
care. They're monsters.
He's going to squeal. I was
don't
surprised
accept
to see
me. Do
Bakari
better.
Sellers on that panel because I have a few things to say about him. And it comes to like the issue we have to get Zionists out of the influence of Democratic Party politics. Bakari Sellers, some people might have seen on CNN a lot. He was, in 2010, Time featured him as a 40 under 40. In 2012, Politico named him one of the top 50 politicos to watch. He was a HBCU top 30 under 30 in July. How did he get to be so prominent? I would suggest it's not unrelated to what he was doing in college, which was Sellers is a prominent African-American supporter of Israel. He first attended the annual
Bakari Sellers, Caitlin Collins, God, I think even Jake Tapper when he got started out. Like, you get in there young and you basically get groomed to become a top anchor, and then you just start rolling in millions, and it's fucking bullshit. It's like you gotta have a pretty enough face and roll with their politics, and they'll throw money at you to, like, again, to whitewash and wash a fucking genocide. It's fucking bullshit. God damn it.
PAC conference while serving as a student body president at Morehouse College. In 2016, he authored a letter signed by 60 fellow African-American politicians urging the Democratic Platform Committee to keep the same language, refusing to include the statement that Israel is engaging in a, quote, occupation of Palestine that appears in previous Democratic platforms. Bakari, sorry, the name isn't APAC.
I mean, might as well.
On October 8th, or October 7th, he tweeted out this: "The news coming from Israel today is horrifying. I condemn Hamas and their Iranian backers for this despicable terrorism. No country would tolerate this." I mean, which country would tolerate, Gaza conditions, I wonder, if Bakari against this. "I strongly support the sustained actions Israel must now take to defend itself, to protect its people from terrorism." Bakari Sellers has been on AIPAC's list for his entire public career.
Fuck
He
AIPAC.
knew what was coming, he supported it, and he set the groundwork for it. And what's he doing in the background of this, as Rula Jabil's being attacked by a fucking Christian Zionist, is he's laughing about it.
He's a contributor there. He knows. I mean, he's closer to Jennings. They work in the same place. But she comes in and says some truth, and it makes the Zionists uncomfortable.
New PAC, this is a Kayla Lacey Intercept 2022. New PAC, backed by Bakari Sellers, plans to spend $1 million to unseat Representative Rashida Tlaib. I mean, people like Rula Jabril have to go into studios with people who are bot hacks for a genocidal government, and they just have to act like, oh, you're on the same side as me. As they sit there and do jack shit as Scott Jennings gets to attack her, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I love Matt. I love Matt Lark
it really
so
is.
fucking much.
And
that man right there.
I don't know. Like, I would say that it's
phenomenal.
an improvement that they
Articulate,
actually have a Palestinian on their
the-
program.
this whole panel
I mean,
here.
what is this?
Brandon,
Like,
I
Abby
wanna say Brandon,
Phillip
I
at the
think there are
very
two
least has had
Brandons.
some of these discussions, and she had
Brandon, Emma,
she had
and
Mehdi
Matt
Hassan
Binder
to come on
and
and
Matt
talk
Leck.
about this. Like, that was when that
Perfect.
that
Hero.
racist
Ryan
attack.
Burdusky said,
Yes.
"I hope your pager doesn't go off."
Do you guys remember that? When
That's right.
that was
God,
that same
Jennings
panel
is a piece of
discussion.
shit.
He said, "I hope your pager doesn't go off." I mean, this is the level of
Cock sleeve.
Why is he back?
dickbag.
he's not back, but that was Ryan. But
Seems like the same thing.
but I mean, either way, like we still as a nation are living in an extremely racist and dehumanizing time for Muslim people. And that includes, as we all talk about representation, which is important, we have no Palestinian representation that is respected
None.
to like
What?
the importance of this issue in our media.
Rashida Tlaib,
So good on
Elon
CNN for
Owens.
at least having her on, but like
Rashida Tlaib.
Clean house.
Palestinian?
clean house.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the
Elon
subscribe
Omar,
button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
Okay. I love Sam. Sam's a hero. No one could have carried on the legacy of Michael Brooks as well.
I've got a massive breaking news story. Multiple U.S. aid workers just testified that Elon Musk nearly got them and their families killed after he rapidly dismantled U.S. aid and left them trapped in a foreign country with zero escape plan while there was a breakout
it's what
of
happens
violence
when
in that
you're
country.
chasing trillions.
This is the largest scandal to come out of DOGE, yet nobody's talking about it, and we need to be hammering this home. These are the consequences of rapidly dismantling institutions without any sort of oversight or foresight or safety plan or
I haven't said it yet. Call not just your politicians, call every politician you can. For shitheads like, what's a good one? Mike Lee. Call him and cuss him out. Tell his staffer he's a piece of shit. Like, I'm not saying harass them, but it's like, okay, don't harass them. Harass them. Let them know, like, this is inhumane. This is like Bill Cassidy. Why did you vote for an anti-vaxxer to run the fucking DHS? HHS. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, you guys just want to get Americans killed. And, like, God. Like, they're doing it for millions so billionaires can get trillions. Like, it's so fucking... Like, it's comically, like lacking in self-preservation. Because, like, these people you're almost killing, like, they got friends and family. You're going to piss off one of them, and they're going to take you, like, look, I don't want that to happen, but, like, it's amazing. Like, you're trying to kill and vilifying and hurting all these random people, like, for your little paycheck to defend a bigger person's bigger paycheck, while taking the whole system that is meant to give that paycheck value. Like, it's so bafflingly short-sighted and foolish to, like, tank society because of fucking 2020's brain rot. Like, goddamn, these fucking people.
Contingency plan or safeguards. Elon Musk is barreling through our institutions, and American citizens are facing the consequences. Even Representative Don Beyer said, "This is an absolute scandal. Trump and Marco Rubio abandoned American workers and their families abroad without approving grant waivers to provide their safe return to the United
that's insane.
States.
Like,
they lost their possessions. They lost their housing. They lost their pay."
Hillary and Benghazi, they put her in front of a committee for like years. Be like, oh, she mishandled this. It's like, you guys cut the budget, like, for the security of Benghazi, and like, it's just Hillary's fault. And like, meanwhile, they cut the budget again, almost get these people killed, and it's like, oh, we're saving government waste. Like, what are you talking about? Are you out of your fucking mind? God damn.
All of their money, and the whole time Elon Musk was slandering them with bogus accusations about them being radical left Marxists. They were trying to spread transgenderism in the Congo. While he was spreading these lies, they were fleeing for their lives while their homes were being looted, and they testified about all of this in court. We have the testimony, and again, we need to continue hammering home the Elon Musk coverage. We need to keep our foot on his neck, metaphorically, of course, because they are prevailing right now. Elon Musk is rapid-firing 200 ketamine-fueled tweets a day about U.S. aid, about Social Security. He's just lying and lying and lying, and this is how we push back. So make sure you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe, and let's just break down.
Adam's
I guess let's
great.
start from
he
the
does
beginning.
solid work.
U.S. aid
Midas
staffers
touch.
describe colleagues abandoned in violence in Congo as DOGE ends assistance programs. And listen, I've said this so many times. There are legal channels to report fraud or report waste or abuse of government funds. Elon Musk is not going through those legal channels. He is abruptly eliminating a bunch of humanitarian programs, development programs, programs domestically that American citizens rely on. But let's read this. A lieutenant of Trump ally Elon Musk and other outsiders are overseeing the immediate termination of hundreds of American aid and foreign assistance programs abroad this week without required documentation or justification. Meanwhile, New affidavits from USAID staffers recently based in Congo described the gutting of their agency by President Trump and Musk.
Can you imagine being
which they
abandoned
said
in the Congo
left
by your
them
president?
abandoned and in danger from political violence.
Like, why did Trump go through all that trouble of getting the hostages back? That one God, yeah, he gave a another arms dealer for that teacher in Russia, and then just pulled aid and abandoned Americans abroad. Like, what are you doing? Like Project 2025 is clearly monstrous. Like, they're monsters for supporting this. It's also like I'm sorry, if you were going to act like this way, there was a smoother way of doing this. Like instead of 1 month, it takes you 2 months. Like, you're not going to be like Biden trying to get the Green New Deal at the start of his presidency and completely fucking that up because he tried to do bipartisan. You're not going to run into those issues if you did this shit slow and didn't have Elon running around with a bunch of like brain dead, like groped up coders, like running around in the fucking treasury. You wouldn't have that kind of like Trump could be playing golf and just like nominee, and then like do it and leave me alone. Which I think a lot of the Dems thought, like, oh, he's just going to play golf. He's not going to do any of this thing. He said he wasn't going to do Project 2025. And it's like the man is nothing if not petty, spiteful, and insane. So, bad short-sighted decision there. But again, like, just wild.
Violence in the African country's capital. Again, they had to testify in court. As chaos reigned at USAID's headquarters with senior leadership removed and funding frozen, US aid workers and their families abroad had no agency help in fleeing after looters overran their home. In Kinshasa, several of the staffers said in sworn accounts to a federal court. Congo-based USAID staffers who described getting out with nothing but their backpacks wrote of now being stranded in Washington without a home or agency payments and facing joblessness. This is how they are treating American citizens who put their lives on the line to go help other countries. And why is the mainstream media not hammering this home? It's so easy. Trump is genuinely destroying our credibility abroad, whether it's with Europe and Ukraine, whether it's with the Congo or Denmark,
the Koreans
wherever
have the right
it is.
Idea.
Trump is ruining our credibility.
They immediately
really
impeached
quickly,
their president for
before we read
so
these
much less
sworn
than this.
affidavits from the workers, I just want to read this.
Bill
thread
Clinton got
that says,
impeached over a
"How does USAID help
blowjob, and this is
Americans?"
like the
Well, one
president
example.
killing Americans.
Well, when I was working in the Congo
this is insane.
in their
This is
first
bullshit.
and only elections, the civil war had ended with an estimated 50,000 orphans under 18 in the capital. Again, 50,000 orphans after the Civil War. Many had been forced into becoming child soldiers in the Civil War. Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups saw it as a job fair, essentially, recruiting by offering food, money, shelter, a way to get off the streets, and in turn, you fight for a terrorist organization. U.S. aid officials were fighting this by offering alternatives of job training, shelter, medical care, and psychological help for the traumatized orphans.
Welfare
I
works
saw
best
this
for the
work.
people that need it the
Tens
most.
of thousands of potential
They need it.
terrorists, people that would have been preyed upon
When you
as
have
children
nothing left,
to
sometimes
enter
you just
these
need a
terrorist
hand.
organizations, were now given an
pull
alternative
yourself
life
up by your
and
bootstraps.
embraced
Get
it with
fucked, you
relief.
capitalist
No
fucks.
12-year-old wants to continue a life of violence and death if given another path, but a lot of times you don't have another path. This is soft power. This is how USAID
It's called
helps.
soft, but
we
it's-
could have waited
it's
to confront
powerful.
the threat with our military, but it was much cheaper and far more efficient to spend USAID dollars than waiting until people were killing Americans. Elon Musk has private bodyguards, flies on private planes. He's insulated from any danger. But are you insulated from any danger? And the answer to that is no. And the effects of dismantling US aid will be felt for decades. There is a long tail end on these effects, but let's break down how the US aid employee workers outlined their escape with their family from the Congo as the Trump admin dismantled US aid. So this says, I, along with others at USAID, learned via messages from another USAID employee that there were protesters outside his house setting fires and causing damage. He described the situation over the radio. Eventually, I heard this USAID employee describe over the radio that protesters had breached the gates of his home, and I heard him request an evacuation. I later learned that he and his family had been safely extracted from the situation by armed security working for the U.S. Embassy. For the U.S. Embassy, not for U.S. aid, which is supposed to provide a safe evacuation plan. But they had already lost all of their belongings to looting. Videos of the looting of his home circulated on local social media, and shortly thereafter, around midday, I began to hear protesters chanting outside the walls of my home. My children were playing outside, so I called them in, and my spouse and I set about locking all of the doors and the gates of our home. We were scared. Mercifully, the protesters never attempted to breach our gate.
Like, they're only not dead by circumstance.
Embassy leadership convened a meeting to discuss the security situation and determine whether the embassy should evacuate and go on ordered departure, often referring to as an OD. Leadership determined in that meeting that we would evacuate and go on ordered departure, though a small number of staff would stay behind to maintain operations, and just like that, just with Elon Musk snapping his fingers, lives are ruined, violence breaks out, and America loses soft power in the Congo. And here we have another example. Washington staff, concerned that any spending not directly approved by then acting administrator Jason Gray would be met with accusations of subverting the executive order, determined that they needed to process a waiver request with approval from the acting administrator. Thankfully, the career staff took up this effort despite perceived risks that they may suffer retaliation from the Trump administration. It is an absolute mess. And I just want to point out, U.S. aid takes up 0.4% of our spending. 0.4%. Elon Musk could have tried to cut abuse and fraud in the military or in any of the sectors that aren't healthcare and U.S. aid and Social Security, but those would be conflicts of interest for Elon Musk because he has contracts with them. So Musk's approach to the government is not about budget cuts. It's about eradicating agencies with zero oversight and benefiting his own corporate and personal interests. And we'll leave it there. I'll keep covering the legal challenges as they mount, and I love all of you guys. Drop a like, subscribe. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Well, as you're no doubt aware, Sony had quite the monumental cock-up.
Topic switch. Let's listen to Bellular News, who I stumbled on recently. That's a fucking nice mic. Let's see what he has to say.
Last week, and the PSN went down. We're going to talk about it and actually the deeper stuff behind it, because this is actually a pretty bad thing for Sony. Now in the immediate, it blew. Like, I could not buy and download Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, even though I had a free Saturday that I kind of dedicated to that. Then Krispy Kremes, well, at least they got their free marketing donut division into gear and gave people free donuts.
Like, basically, so you don't know, so he's getting into it, but you don't own anything, and like owning physical it's more secure. Like, there is a convenience factor with owning digital. Like, you can download it on the go, you can download it remotely, you can all sorts of stuff. Sometimes it's a little bit cheaper. It depends. And other times it's just a matter of availability. But if you can own physical, it's better to buy physical. Keep a physical copy somewhere, even if you're not playing it. Like, build a stash if you can. Yeah, physical is better in the long run.
Donuts. But of course, if you had a digital PS5 or a PS5 Pro and didn't buy the upcharged disc drive, well,
yeah, that was bullshit.
Yeah, tough shit. You were basically left unable to use the stuff you had bought. So not only is this bad, right?
Yeah.
But it directly undermines trust in Sony's, well...
Oh, a random add-on. I don't think the Pro is worth buying. Like, they haven't tapped all the power in the PS5 itself. Like, it's already extremely powerful and it's not getting used. The Pro's not worth it for the money. It's not worth it for that detachable disc bullshit. The PlayStation Slim, like, I don't have anything bad to say about that. Like, takes up less space. It's just as powerful as the regular 5. I have my 5, I don't think it's launch. It's not a launch, but, God, did I get it a year? I got it something like 6 months to a year after it came out. And I was coming off of a PlayStation 4 Pro, and that was really solid. Like, the 4 Pro was a nice upgrade from the 4. It was faster, you could do a lot more with it. Not bad. The 5 was an even further upgrade from that. The 5, if you had PlayStation Plus, In fact, I don't think you even needed that. If you bought the 5, you got access to the PlayStation Plus collection. And it was like 20 games like that just came with it, like God of War, Persona 5, all sorts of stuff. It was great. It was even faster than the 4 Pro. Graphics were obviously better. I've really grown to love the PlayStation 5 controller. I think it. I don't know if I can say it's the best, but I'm kind of there. Like, I think it might be the best controller out there. Yeah, they knocked it out of the park with that one, and they've butchered this console generation between getting rid of, like, between being hostile to physical and, what do you call it? And, blah. And, between being hostile to physical and, oh yeah, wasting everything on live services. Sorry, I zoned out there. And it's like, I think the biggest issue is how we approach physical. How it's all optical discs still. It's all Blu-rays and DVDs and kids don't know what a CD is. It's all these. Instead of, like, we just need, like, flash drives, detachable hard drives. Like, the ability to download, receive the game, and store it more properly. And, like, a lot of people they always knee-jerk back to, like, disc because it's a physical hard object that is solely for that thing. But if you have a hard drive full of, like, 17 games that are yours that you can put back on your 5 at any given time without an online connection, it's the same result. It's even more compact. And it's part of the allure of piracy. You download 20 or so games, you put them on your hard drive, they're safe. You can use them whenever you want. Like, that's the appeal. And it's like Sony has yet to truly tackle that issue, at least in any appropriate measure. And these are the people that made the fucking PlayStation Portal and the PlayStation VR 2 with no fucking backwards compatibility. Yeah. All right, let's watch Belly.
Entire strategy. All that it takes is the root of an idea to make somebody not buy a console. Just a little bit of friction sticking in their mind, a little story that says, I remember bad news about this company and bad news about this service. That's actually going to harm them. And worst of all, Sony failed to communicate properly here, and as we're going to examine the details today,
and they failed because they don't care, which is really aggravating.
Just how built on sand,
like,
all of this
Sony
is,
has won the console war, and they just don't give a shit.
Existential long-term problems this actually poses for gaming. It all began around midnight on Friday, it lasted for a day, and it was resolved around midnight on Saturday. Now, Sony really said nothing of substance initially, and they haven't said much of substance since. And what is, I guess, a little funny is they did say things. As an example, this pre-scheduled marketing, which really did go down well. It was all about the benefits of why you should put an M.2 SSD in your PS5, which would be perfect for the games that you couldn't play on your console, a console that you couldn't use, and an SSD that you couldn't download any games to. Now, by 2 a.m., they did acknowledge there was a problem. They later apologized. They gave people who had PS Plus 5 days of free service. And as for the problem, they just said it's an operational issue, which is to basically say
they could afford to give
tell us what the problem was. And not knowing is actually worrisome there, right? I mean, if you take the rather infamous 23-day long outage of 2011, for Sony, they say that cost them $171 million. It also really showed confidence, and that's about $7.5 million a day. But the real worry with that was user data, because user data spanning 77 million customers was accessed. That was quite bad. Now, in that case, people ended up getting 2 games for free and 30 days of PS Plus. So at first glance, right, this is 1 day versus 23, and we haven't heard anything about, like, a massive security breach. But from a strategic perspective and from a business perspective,
I mean, you can't trust corporations anymore. For all we know, it happened. They didn't want to talk about
everything far harder than that did
Fight
in
Club
2011.
rules.
Physical game sales absolutely
if it's cheaper to not do a recall, don't do the recall.
And fewer games were big live games. But 2025 is nothing like that. So here's a fun sample of things. You've got Bungie, a Sony-owned studio, running a new event in Destiny 2, a Sony game, right? The players on Sony's own console could not access. Helldivers was celebrating its first anniversary with giveaways that users could not redeem. And marketing partner, which does mean, like, business relationship, Monster Hunter Wilds Sales had to extend its second open beta, which kind of blew. That's chaos, and that's just the big expected types of chaos. Games that required multiplayer servers were just knocked out by this. People could not download games that they owned, and that would include things like, say, if you got a Civ 7 edition that had advanced access. Good luck. I couldn't get Kingdom Come 2. People couldn't buy games or download games, but it actually goes even deeper
hearing great
than
things
that,
about
because
Kingdom
PSN
Come
actually
2,
covers
but,
so many
I don't
more
have time.
services. It includes video stuff and even loads
Yeah, I
of
know I'm doing
single-player
this,
games
but this
that
is
actually
like
do require an online connection.
trying
At the
to get
very
something
least, they
going.
will like phone home to like verify the purchase when a game is started up. So that actually means that even if you had downloaded a game, if that game was on your console, well, the servers that would validate your purchase were also down, so you could not access that game that you bought, which really does reinforce the point that you do not own your games, you own a license, and if their protection system that validates that your license is legit, if that goes down,
If buying isn't owning,
a license
piracy
doesn't
isn't
really
theft.
matter. More than anything, when you wrap it all up together, people realize just how little their PS5 is able to do without an internet connection. And not because of some very understandable technical reason, although there are some, but the point is, all of this is Sony's overt choice, Sony's copy protections, Sony's digital strategy, and nothing highlights that more than this next part of the story, which feels like a bit of an absurd comedy. Does It Play are a group of preservation activists, and seeing this whole story go down, they came across an ex-user, Papa Guy, who did a bit of an experiment, right? So he disconnects his disk drive, the external disk drive, and then he tried to set it up again during the outage. And what he got from his experiment was a PS5 with a connected disk drive that refused to work. It was basically just a brick attached to a brick, which is absurd because there this guy was, with a PS5, with a disk drive, and with a collection of game discs. And these things run, but you cannot put them together and access your games. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that this is a big problem that you are going to face in a very immediate practical sense.
Not yet.
This is an edge case. The chances of you trying to activate your disk drive during an outage are absurdly slim.
So it's not a big issue yet, but he's addressing an issue that is market wide potentially soon.
Hang on a second. The words that came out of my mouth were activate your disk drive, which is absolutely absurd. I mean, especially if you're a 30-year-old boomer who remembers when disk drives were a commonly used thing in your PC. This is insane. So it's the principle that matters here. It feels wrong that you can own games. I mean, the thing about digital is, digital makes it so goddamn clear that, you just own the license. At least with a disc, you're sort of duped into thinking you own the game because you have a box. The box says it's a game, and in that box is a disc, and that disc runs the game. So you'd think that you own the game and you can use it on your own hardware that you've bought that should run that game. But no, you can't, because of how Sony have designed their entire system. And this begs the obvious question then. What happens when those servers are turned off? Well, who better to ask than Sony themselves? Seeing all this, Does It Play sent a letter to Sony. It's this letter, and they asked them about the future, and they pressed them for answers on the nature of planned obsolescence that this online dependency creates. And Sony replied instantly, which is actually not a mark of great customer service. It's because it's Sony's system, which was an AI chatbot. A chatbot that referred to Sony in the third person, which I suppose keeps them safe, and the chatbot said that it could not answer their questions. But the chatbot did conclude by backing all of us up, because it said this, and remember, this is the Sony chatbot, quote, Sony should make provisions for the future of physical media to ensure that players who prefer it can continue enjoying their games for years to come. So you know what? Great. Let's put that chatbot in charge. It clearly gets it. Now, Sony have, of course, not spoken to this broader issue, but an ex-leader of Sony Worldwide Studios that many people within games will know, Sean Layden, has. He's been just going and doing a lot of press and interviews, and when asked about this sort of thing, he said, quote, if we go diskless, how much of my market is not able to make that jump? Can users in rural Italy get a decent internet connection to enjoy games? which is absolutely right. But they then followed up with the more sobering reality because, let's be real, it's romantic playing games in your house in rural Italy. Sony doesn't give a shit about that. And Sean did say as much, that ultimately Sony have done their research and Sony knows there's a tipping point. Now, Sean does think that it will be hard for Sony to go all discless even in the next generation. But make no mistake, if they run the numbers and that tipping point is hit, they absolutely will. Statistics help us make this point. US game physical retail sales fell below $2 billion for the first time since the year 2000, right? 2000. Lowest in 25 years. GameStop did this tweet, right, about, buy physical games. But that's a death spasm. So get this, a pretty legendary analyst, Matt Piscatella, summarized his firm's data, and he said that physical software spending is down by more than 50% since 2021, which is only 4 years ago, and it's down 85% since its 2008 peak. And, look, 2008 was quite the banger, and it had a lot of things to really increase those physical sales, like Guitar Hero, like the Wii. But the trend is clear, and if you think about the numbers that Matt shared, it's only accelerating. Which is obvious. Both major console players would rather sell you a digital-only console. You'll save money in, the immediate if you buy that digital console. So think about it this way, right? If GameStop sells you a digital-only console, they might make some money from that sale, right? But they make that money at the risk of losing your lifetime value as a customer because you won't be buying your games at GameStop, you'll be buying them on the digital store. And of course, this is a feedback loop. As more shops close, the digital rise will only hasten, which is exactly what Sony will want. And I don't mean this is for some horrible, nefarious reason. It is simple numbers. Selling digitally is absurdly more profitable and efficient. It gives them full control over pricing. And for consumers, even though you could say you might pay a little bit more money and it's a worse deal, well, time is money and you don't have to go to the shop. You don't have to wait for Amazon to deliver your order or maybe have the mail person do any of that stuff. So there are lots of reasons why people do enjoy digital, but there is a bit of an American cherry on top of all of this, at least in that domestic market. So the tariffs are delayed. Yes, got to talk about the tariffs, but the tariffs still could happen, and Matt had this to say, quote, with 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico on the way, I can see a sharp downtick in the number of disc-based games that get released physically in the US, as much of that production infrastructure is in Mexico. So that's fairly interesting. I guess you can enjoy some tariffs on your China manufactured console.
I'm here to debrief from politics for 5 minutes. But it's again, it's we're being dragged into having to care about this. And it's this is so fucking dumb. This is the dumbest fucking timeline of idiots. Fuck. And I gotta spend my lunch tomorrow calling senators and fucking House reps and yelling at them. And it's I don't want to be doing that. I just want to be playing video games. Why can't you just let me fucking do that? God damn.
And your Mexican manufactured games. Awesome. The way it works is the tariffs will be paid for by the importer, and the idea, obviously, is that it's to encourage domestic production of those goods. Now, in theory, right, those costs, like physical game disc production, are only 5% of the $70 price tag, so around $3.50, and the tariffs would only bring that to $4.38, which is barely anything. But across hundreds of thousands of copies being sold and distributed, that actually does add up. And there's other managerial hurdles and quite a few other things that do sort of happen on top of the tariffs. And perhaps even more than a tiny amount of money, it is risk, it is a lack of predictability, and those things are important for a business. And of course, what they can also be is an excuse, an easy excuse for not bothering to release a physical game or to just raise prices across the board. A decent example is quite a lot of companies use the looming tariffs to just sort of be we've been wanting to cut staff. Because of the tariffs, we've got to do it right now. It ended up being an excuse. Which is all to say there is a death spiral in physical game sales and in physical games retail. And that's actually really good for Sony, and it's basically their strategy. The words that came out of Sean Layden's mouth were, there will be a tipping point. And he's right, there will be one.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't see it being the PS6, and Sony do at least make good margin by selling those really way too expensive external disk drives. But thinking about the future, it's absolutely goddamn clear, right? Digital means 30% of every sale goes to Sony or Microsoft or Steam or whoever, right? It means zero retail cut for your Sony-owned...
Listen, if you're going to end production of physical sales, you need to allow people a way of physically retaining their games. It doesn't have to be through disc, but you need to afford them the ability to retain them. Like, people have to be able to download their games and store them somewhere. Whether they do it on a disc or whatever, it doesn't matter. They need to... can't crypto actually do that? Like, can't crypto, like, recording, like, with unique identifiers and everything, can that not work for, like, ownership licenses of a specific, like, game download? Like, is that not, like, doable? Like, am I fucking crazy? Like, when you make piracy more convenient, it's gonna happen more. I don't know what to fucking tell you.
Games. And hey, if you're spending $315 million in Spider-Man 2 to the point where you need like 7.5 million sales at full RRP on your own store, right, where it's the most financially efficient, goddamn, you're going to be chasing that damn profitability everywhere you can. And it also means no pesky lending of games. As an example, one of the guys in our team, Matt, he lent me his copy of Returnal. I played Returnal and I was like, okay, I'm done with Returnal. That's obviously really bad for Sony. And of course, if you've actually used the PSN store, you'll notice the UI flow of that sucker, right? Whenever you go to buy a game, I don't know about you, but mine always defaults to like one of the most expensive premium editions of a game. There have been times I've clicked in a game and I'm like, what the hell? Why is this £99? Yep. No, it turns out I've got to go into a sub-menu that is very much not obvious to then select the version of the game that is a reasonable price. Obviously, they make a lot of money for that UI. Guiding people to the more expensive, more profitable thing. So the point here is Sony's dominant position does not make proof. This outage makes that absolutely obvious because this outage directly targets the big thrust of their business in going all digital, well people's confidence. And frankly, the fact that we haven't got a proper explanation show that they don't really think we're owed one. This is the same damn mindset that led to their whole PC misfire with PSN. That's actually something that they have finally walked back, and you can watch this video next to learn about that story.
Oh, I kind of really want to watch that, but I'm calling it tonight. For the handful of people that checked in, thank you for coming. I'm very tired. I'll try to do more, I don't know, tomorrow, Saturday, I don't know. I get on and do it when I can, but this video will be uploaded to the YouTube. I will include the links for each of the videos that I watched. There's only 4 today. I'm working on timestamps and everything. Yeah, again, like, I'm doing this, like, after work, so this is what you get. I appreciate, though, anyone taking the time. So, alrighty. I will let you all go. You have a great night. Fuck Elon, fuck Donald Trump, and fuck the Republican Party. Take care.